Well, folks, as you can see now, the vinyl floor is now in place. And it's about as good as I'm going to get it. You see I also cut the hole out for the toilet flange too. I'll put that on yet tonight. I still have to drill one more hole over there after I place the toilet for where the supply line will come up through the floor to provide water to the toilet. So that has to be done yet, but other than that I can be pretty much done with the floor. I still have to piece in this small piece here. I have plenty of scraps left over. I'll deal with that a little bit later because I am going to have to get some glue for that. That won't stay in place without it. And I also want to try to match up the pattern so that it's not as noticeable. But that's kind of a fussy secondary part of the project. For right now, my goal is to get the rough plumbing in and move ahead with that. Now, as I said before, there is no electricity in this room, and normally you would do your rough electrical too before you put any flooring down. But since I'm working from underneath and I have a closet, I can work my electrical connections from that direction. Also, when I do the ceiling, I have an attic above, so I can drop down the wire for the fan and light combination. I removed an old thermostat here from the baseboard electric heat that was in here, so that will suffice to be a light switch. I'll put a double toggle light switch in there for the fan and light, and then eventually I think what I'm going to do is under the window I will put one of those fan forced heaters. It's a little square heater. It's electric, but the way this room is in the house, as long as the door's open, a lot of the convected heat coming up from the wood stove keeps it fairly warm. But if there should be a very cold morning, somebody needs a little extra heat if they want to take a shower, it'll be just an added touch. But it's nothing critical right now. We're coming into the spring and the summer, so that probably won't happen until later. We do have a lot of wall repair to do as well, and that's going to happen a little later too. We have to decide what we're going to do on that. I think instead of drywall, we'll put some kind of a paneling board. They do make a plastic type of paneling board for bathrooms. So we will probably put that over. There might be some spots in the wall where the plaster isn't very good. I might have to chip it out and put some drywall pieces in. But if I don't have to re-drywall the whole room, I'd rather not. I'd rather just put that more moisture resistant type of paneling on, because it is going to be a bathroom. It's always going to be a bathroom from this point on. So why go to the extent of gutting out more than I have to? Again, we're on a shoestring here. That's the name of the game for this channel. So we're trying to make things as nice as possible, as cheap as possible. Now the other thing that's going to happen here in the ceiling, you can see there's an old pull chain that was on there. Somewhere around in the center is where the light fan combination will go. Again, I'll have to go up to the attic, pull up a floorboard and cut my hole and drop it down from that way, but that's not too difficult. And then I'll have to run a vent pipe to exhaust the fan contents out of the house. I know some people will just vent it into the attic, and that is possible, but I'd rather not have all that moisture up there if people are running the fan when they're taking a shower. I'd rather run it to the outside of the house. I can run it to the eaves out there, and then they actually make a vent that will fit right in the eaves for that, so that your flexible aluminum foil type hose that runs off of the fan light combination can run right above the ceiling in the joist cavity there right out to the eave, and then it can be vented right outside that way. That's what I think I will do with that. The other thing that's going to happen here though before a ceiling goes in, because the attic insulation is not real adequate. It was done back in the 1960s. It's basically what was called rock wool, which was state-of-the-art back then, but it isn't anymore. What I'm going to do is exactly what I've done out in the hallway here. I'm going to get 1 inch thick aluminum faced styrofoam board and attach that. That'll provide another couple arb insulation to keep the heat from escaping out the attic. And then we'll finish it off either, as I said, with that plastic type tile, or maybe I'll even put a moisture resistant drywall on the ceiling. I'm not sure at this point, but that's not as critical now as just getting the bathroom started and usable. That's the whole point in doing this. So and then of course later on I said that the plan would be to put a hot water heater in the closet here, so that there can be hot water up here. When I do the rough plumbing, I will plumb for that. I'll come up through the floor here with an 1.5 inch drain pipe that will connect up on this side of the wall with the vanity, and then I'll also come up through the floor with the one line that's coming up through the floor, the cold supply coming from the pump, the expansion tank and the pump, and then I'll tee it off here and cap it off. Eventually that cold line will continue up to the top of the hot water heater, run through the hot water heater, and then come out with a second line, which will be a hot line. That'll drop down, that'll catch the vanity on its way down through the floor, then it'll run under the floor over near the toilet, and then come along the floor. I'll be right underneath the ceiling of the second floor because I don't want to drill holes through all these floor joists. I don't want to weaken the structure of the place any more than I have to, because it is an old farmhouse. I can just box that in later and it won't look too bad. And I'm also going to have to run a 2-inch drain line from the shower that will be in this corner. It'll also run under the floor over to the main stack there, the main 3-inch line heading downstairs. So I probably won't run those supply lines for the shower yet. I'll tee that off there coming up, the cold water coming up, and then I'll worry about running the hot water over later. And however far I go with the rough plumbing at this point, I'll cap it off. I'll just put a solvent welded cap on, then when I go to do it I can just cut that off and then put a connector and go from there. And I'll do the same thing with the 2-inch line, since it's not going to come up through the floor yet to connect to anything, because I don't know exactly where the shower base, where the drain hole for the shower base is going to be yet. When I get the shower, I will set it on the floor here and then trace a hole, and that'll show me where I need to drill my hole down through for that. But until I have to do that, I will just cap off the 2-inch pipe that's coming over. I can't leave that open for 2 reasons. One, when I flush the toilet, I don't want anything going down the pipe that way to an open end. The other thing is I don't need sewer gases coming into the house. So any of your sewer lines coming into your house, you want to either be vented outside at the end of the run, or you want there to be a trap where there's water so that the gas can't get through. That's why there's a built-in trap in a toilet. That's why you have in a vanity, you've got the trap under the sink. It provides a water barrier from any sewer gases coming up through the drains, and that's why you do it. And that's why when I get to here at the end of this run, not only will I run a drain pipe for the vanity that's here, I'll also punch out through the wall there with just an 1.5 inch is adequate piece of PVC that will stick out of the wall of the house, maybe 6-8 inches, just enough to get it out away from the house so that any sewer gases can just vent outside and dissipate. So that's the plan at this point. But we've made progress today getting the floor down, and we'll put the floor flange for the toilet in just a minute here, and then we'll see about getting the toilet actually attached. It won't go anywhere, can't be used yet, but at least it'll be in its permanent location. Okay, stay tuned. Thanks for watching.